What is going on, my fellow Batman Glazers? We have a good one today, so make sure you stay tuned. Now, the Arkham games have some of the most devious villains. Just look at this dude, gang. Oh, Lord. Now, all these villains are crazy. I'll give him that. But how many of these Arkham villains have deep lore and are high-tiered antagonists? I'm talking about S-ranking, gang. Like, if we objectively view these villains through a wide scope, would they be classified as well-written? Or will they be some just regular lame villains? Well, today I'll be ranking the top 5 most well-written villains in the Arkham series, no doubt. Before I get into the vid though, let's tap in with this week's sub shout out. Today we'll be shouting out my boy Nika Plays Meta. Now, I've seen you in the comments showing some love, so it's only right to shout out my most active subscriber. Thank you, gang, for all the support. But y'all boys, let's get into the vid. Now, I've seen a lot of negativity around Arkham villains. People typically say they are very lazy, almost as lazy at created as this guy right here. Everything is so complex nowadays, isn't it, right? No one wants to see an antagonist who is just a regular typical villain who does typical villain things. The era of taking over the world is over. Sorry, Doofenshmirtz, your lore isn't interesting or deep. Everyone wants a very well-established deep villain now. Coming in at the honorable mention spot, we got my dog Bane. Now, the only reason he isn't actually ranked or on the list is because he's been through a lot of ups and downs throughout the series and was heavily nerfed and degraded to a big mindless brute after the events of Origin. I personally hated that. Now, if Bane would have stayed the way he did in Origins throughout every Arkham game, his spot on this list would definitely be guaranteed, because Bane is nothing short of a menacing villain who poses one of the biggest threats to Batman. Sorry, Deathstroke, but Bane is more dangerous than you. Well, the one in Origins is. But coming in at number 5, we have the Hugo Strange. Now, he's coming at number 5 simply because he was just a puppet. His lore and story was beautiful and nothing short of artwork, but it turned out he was just taking orders. Anyone like him who was able to crack Batman's identity with sheer brain is someone who is definitely deserving a spot on his list. His calm demeanor and sense of control is what made him very unpredictable, and we love to see it as the Dark Knight. He's arguably one of Batman's hardest challenges to date. He was so untouchable until the end of City, and his planet was near perfection. Unfortunately, he had to fall at number 5 because his entire existence was just one huge facade. Now, I can't hold you, gang. He kind of did give me the creeps as a kid watching that Arkham City trailer, not gonna hold you. But funny enough, coming in at number 4, we have the actual planner of the events of City, that being the great Ra's al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul, my bad. The 600-year-old head of the demons who eradicate any and all evil that plague the streets of Gotham, deeming Batman's no kill rule, I can't talk, a way of stopping crime very ineffective, as he believed these criminals would plague the streets once again. Ra's al Ghul and Bruce never saw eye to eye, leading to these insane confrontations. They wanted the same thing, to see Gotham prevail despite its chronic crime issues. They just had very different ways of going about it. Ra's and his League of Assassins worked in the shadows just like Bruce, trying to fight crime in ways people of Gotham would never even know. Ra's is the story of a man who keeps using his Lazarus pit over and over again despite it severely damaging his own existence, to make sure the League of Assassins was never taken over by someone with different intentions than his own. He was overtaken by corruption so much to the point that on his deathbed, he thanks Bruce for not saving his life. He knew it was his time. Now, that option of not saving his life was the right choice. Hopefully, when you guys play Arkham Knight, that's the one you clicked. Coming in at number 3, though, one of my personal favorites, one of the GOATs, we got Mr. Freeze. If there's one character in the whole Arkham series whose portrayal and story arc never ever goes wrong or sucks for even a second, it's the cold-hearted cryogenics expert and my dog, Mr. Freeze.
Death is called Batman.
From Origins all the way to Night, this version of Freeze is arguably the best iteration of the character since the animated series. The Emmy Award-winning episode of the series, Heart of Ice, is lovingly recreated in the Arkham Origins DLC Cold Heart, detailing the tragic backstory of Dr. Freeze and the accident that led to his frosty condition. Freeze shows up again in Arkham City, giving Batman a truly memorable fight before agreeing to help him with a cure for Titan. The Batman locates his frozen wife Nora, urging him to abandon his criminal activities and leave the city. Now, the experience with Freeze was truly peak and my personal favorite Freeze experience. That fight was also one of the best boss battles in the entire Arkham series, bringing the best out of Batman and all of his abilities and tactics. In Arkham Knight, Freeze returns seeking Batman's aid when Nora's cryo chamber is taken by the Arkham Knight's militia. Damn, Todd. Though Batman manages to find her, the chamber is damaged and Nora awakens from cryostasis. She tells Freeze that she'd rather spend her last days with him than face another lifetime in ice, and together they set sail out of Gotham for good. This really made me cry because it was truly showed the depths of Freeze's love. He was willing to freeze Nora forever if that's what he had to do, but he then comes to the realization that this wasn't what she wanted. He couldn't accept it, but letting her live and die was the extent of his control in the end. Mr. Freeze is neither insane nor truly evil. His actions are driven by pure love for his wife, and the Arkham series conveys this flawlessly from start to finish. With Nora at his side, no matter for how long, perhaps the Pain Man can finally find peace. Coming in at number 2, we have a very flawlessly written character, the Scarecrow. One thing that's universally agreed on among Arkham fans is that Scarecrow's role in Batman Arkham Asylum is absolutely high point of the game and arguably the best boss battle. Sorry, Ivy. To complement the Asylum's chilling atmosphere, Jonathan Crane lurks in the shadows, occasionally slipping the unaware hero a dose of his fear toxin and leaving him fighting for his life in increasingly abstract internal hellscapes. Gang was giving me nightmares as a kid. After the final one of these, Scarecrow is suddenly grabbed by Killer Croc and pulled down to the sewer. Though presumed dead, he shows up in Arkham Knight, issuing a citywide warning on Halloween night and evacuating virtually the whole of Gotham. His presence really did it all. This dude really came back from the lake in Arkham Asylum with some devious aura. Bro is the definition of getting it back in blood, and his menacing presence is a huge reason why he's on this list. He was the last villain you would want to run into. His run-in with Killer Croc left him greatly scarred, and he arranged his tattered skin to resemble his original master from Asylum. Using the cloudburst, Crane floods the city with his fear toxin, watching its inhabitants tear each other apart. This dude was the definition of anarchy. The end of the game sees Scarecrow do what no other villain has ever done, which was unmask the Batman. With his secret identity known to the world, Batman is subjected to one last dose of toxin. His mind wrestles through an elaborate dream sequence before Scarecrow is given a taste of his own medicine. Rendered catatonic through fear of his nemesis, Scarecrow gave Batman his toughest challenge to date. With his plan established before the events of night, Scarecrow knew exactly what he wanted to do and executed it perfectly. Well, except when Batman slams him. But that sequence, Scarecrow pushed Batman to the limits, was just, one of the peakest moments in the whole Arkham series, forcing Batman to overcome this fear in what is the most beautiful scene I've ever saw in my life. Sorry if I'm, tearing up right now. Batman is just the GOAT. But let's not forget how crazy he was going, though. Crane always came with it no matter what game he was in. When you saw Crane, you knew a real challenge was coming right with it. He challenged not the physicality and prowess of the Dark Knight like every other villain, but how strong Batman's willpower was and how far he would go to protect the ones he loved the most. He was truly not the villain you would want to sleep on. Now, I know what everyone's gonna say, but I really don't care. The Jason hate is so forced. But y'all already know, coming in at number 1, the titular character of Batman Arkham Knight gets top billing for a reason. He's got more reason than anyone to be after Batman's head, and he's here in Gotham City with an entire army just to collect his prize. Sporting armor and high-tech visor in deliberate resemblance to his foe, the Arkham Knight is very upfront about his control over the city. His militia set up checkpoints and watchtowers right across the 3 islands of central Gotham, while automated battle drones patrol the streets and skies in search of Batman. He was truly the ultimate crash out. He was very vigilant and his dedication to destroying the Bat was nothing to overlook. The hate he failed to overcome sprouted in the menacing plan we saw come into fruition in Arkham Knight. He's Batman's equal in virtually every way: speed, tactics, fighting style, and intelligence, because he claims to know the man like none of his other enemies ever could. And why? Because he's really former Robin, Jason Todd, that's why. Yes, his reveal is quite underwhelming, especially considering that he later becomes the Red Hood, and so could easily just have been him the whole time. That aside though, there's no denying that he puts his absolute all into the crusade against the Dark Knight, and he could have done much worse on the costume front. Just a broken kid who wanted nothing more to fight crime. Jason was left to die in an abandoned wing in Arkham. No one has more of a reason to become a villain than him. His story is definitely enough to become number 1, because deep down he was a good guy. Deep down he just wanted to save the city. Deep down, he saw Bruce as the dad he never had, yet he felt so backstabbed, so he did what he did. It's just perfect villain story. You couldn't be able to tell me otherwise. He's undoubtedly the most well-rounded villain and the most well-written in the entire series. The story of a broken kid to one of Bruce's most formidable foes. Well, y'all boys, these are the top 5 most interesting, deep, and well-written villains in the Arkham series. If y'all think anyone else should be on the list, comment down below. And if you are new to the channel, enjoy this type of content, drop a sub. But Arkham gang, until next time, peace.